Hey guys, excuse me. This is us going to go through the Unit 2 study guide. I'm going to go through the problems that I went through with my first period class. And so that way, that's going to leave you a few to go through on your own. But nobody can say that I gave anybody an unfair advantage. So use your notes to help you solve these problems. Use pencil and paper to work out the math and then type your answer into the text box provided. You will need the midpoint formula, the distance formula. So go back and we're going to go back and look at Unit 2.1 segment addition. This unit was really short. So we're just going to quickly cover what we are going to test on and go from there. So we're going to start with our segment addition. I know it might be a little rusty in your brain. So problem number one. It says if QR is equal to 36 and PR is equal to 102, find PQ. It's saying that this drawing might not be to scale. So to solve things like this, we want to go through our steps. And our steps are to draw it out, to label it, and then tell our story. So for this one, this is the information I was given. I've drawn it out, I've labeled it, and over here we're telling our story. So we've drawn it out. Our story is part plus part equals the whole. And we're given one part in the whole. So over here, here's our story. Part plus part equals the whole. Now we want to simplify. We want to get down to just x. So we have plus 36, and we're going to subtract 36 from both sides. 102 minus 36 is 66. So x equals 66. But it doesn't want to know x. It wants the measure of PQ. So PQ equals 66. Number 2. It says let B be between A and C. Use the segment addition postulate to solve for x. Draw and label. Well, it says A in line segment AB is 4x minus 10. Line segment BC is 2x minus 12. And line segment AC is 56. So let's draw it out and go from there. That's a little better. So, pardon the shadow. So here we have line segment AC. We've labeled all of our parts. It tells us B is here. It tells us that line segment AB is 4x minus 10. Line segment BC is 2x minus 12. And that line segment AC, so the whole thing is 56. So we've drawn, we've labeled everything. Now we're going to tell our story. Our story is part, so 4x plus 10 plus part, which is 2x plus 12, equals 56. We're going to combine our like terms and simplify our problem. So 6x minus 22 equals 56. To get rid of the 22, so it's saying minus 22, so to cancel that out, we add 22 to both sides. 6x equals 78. And then the opposite, to get rid of this 6x is really like saying 6 times x. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 6 on both sides, and 78 divided by 6 is 13. So for this problem, x is 13. Come back over here. 3. Now, there's a lot going on with 3. It says if PQ is equal to 3x minus 8, QR is equal to 2x minus 15, and PR equals 42, find the value of x, PQ, and QR. Okay, we have our parts, we have our whole. Now we just need to go through and draw it out and tell our story. So our story is we have PQ and QR, and the problem told us that PQ is 3x minus 8 and QR is 2x minus 15, and that PR, or our whole line segment, is 42. So we're just going to sub in what we know for in our story. So our first part is 3x minus 8 plus our second part, which is 2x minus 15, equals our whole, and it tells us our whole is 42. So we have 3x minus 8 plus 2x minus 15 plus 42. Well, that's a bunch. So let's simplify. 3x plus 2x is 5x, and negative 8 plus negative 15 is negative 23. So simplified, it looks a lot easier, more manageable. 5x minus 23 equals 42. Well, let's get rid of this 23. So it's saying negative 23 or subtract 23. The opposite of that is to add 23. So we're going to add 23 to both sides. That's going to get us 5x equals 65. Well, we know that 5x is really like saying 5 times x, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide each side by 5. That's going to give us our x down here. Give us our x down here, and x equals 13. Well, we've solved for x. Now it wanted to know the measure of PQ and QR. So over here, from the problem, it tells us that PQ is equal to 3x minus 8. Well, we already solved for x over here. It's 13, so we're just going to sub that in. We're going to say 3 times 13 minus 8. So we're just subbing that 13 in for that x. So 3 times 13 is 39. 39 minus 8 is 31. So PQ equals 31. We're going to do the same thing for QR. QR, the problem tells us, is 2x minus 15. So we have 2x minus 15. Well, we know x, it's 13, so we're going to sub that in. So 2 times 13 minus 15. So 2 times 13 is 26, minus 15 is 11. So QR equals 11. We can check our math because we found the measure of both of our parts. So part plus part equals whole. 31 plus 11 equals 42. So 31 plus 11 equals 42. Great job, guys. So problem 4. It looks a little more daunting than it really is. We're just going to take this line segment, we're going to follow the directions, and we're going to put in what we solve. So we're going to draw it out. I'm going to draw it out on my paper so I can mark it up. I know math is a lot easier to do on paper. So point R, we have S and T. Okay. So I hope you can see that, and I want to. Okay, so the diagram, it's telling us that the whole thing, QU is 30. So then it tells us that point T bisects SU. So we have line segment SU here, and point T bisects SU. So that means that it cuts SU in half. And if you cut something in half, it means that the two parts that you get are equal. So we're going to mark these two with a hash mark to show that they are equal in measure. We don't know what that measure is, but we know that they're equal. Then it tells us that QR is equal to TU. Well, QR is over here, and TU is right here. Well, we've already found out that TU is the same measure as ST, so then QR must be the same measure as ST and TU. So let's mark it with a hash mark. Next, it tells us that RS is equal to SU. So RS is equal to SU. Well, we've already found out that SU is made up of two equal parts. Two equal parts here. So we can just, in our little imagination, pretend that we're going to break this down into two equal parts. So we have followed all of our directions. We've broken our line down into equal parts. So we have, let's see how many parts we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have broken down this line into 5 equal parts. And we want to know, what is the length of QR? So if we have 5 equal parts and we know the whole, we can do some easy math. So 30 divided by 5 equal parts, and that's going to give us 6. So 6 units. So each of these sections, QR is going to be 6, ST is going to be 6, TU is going to be 6. So SU is going to be 12. RS and SU are the same, so that's going to be 12. But all we needed was QR right here. So QR is equal to 6, whatever our units are that we're going to use. There were a lot of moving parts in that, guys. So just like regular questions, draw it out, label it, and follow the story. Five, we're going to get into our midpoint. So if you do not have the midpoint formula right in front of you, you need to get that. Lucky for you all, I'm going to give you the midpoint and the distance formula. So you do not have to have that memorized, but you do have to know how to use it. So number 5 tells us to find the midpoint of the ordered pairs -10, 9, and 1, 6. So on my page right here, I like to always write out my midpoint formula just so I have it. We've got our points, -10, 9, and 1, 6. I'm going to go ahead and label these. This is going to be my 1s, and this point is going to be my 2s. So all we do here, guys, is we just plug in the numbers. This is our midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. The midpoint formula gives us a point, another point that we can put on a coordinate, and so it will be a number, comma, a number. So let's just start subbing in here. So our x1 is going to be -10. Our x2 is going to be 1. Our y1 is going to be 9, and our y2 is going to be 6. So we're going to put those in there. We've put them in the correct places. And now we're just going to do some math and work through. Negative 10 plus 1 is negative 9, and we're going to still be dividing by 2 here. 9 plus 6 is 15 divided by 2, and that's right here. So the midpoint is going to be negative 9 divided by 2, which is negative 4.5, sorry, comma, 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So 7.5. So our point for this answer is negative 4.5, comma, 7.5. That is the midpoint between these 2 points. So number 6, we get into a little bit of a story problem here, but we'll be able to work it out. It says on a map, a bank is located at negative 4, comma 13, and a grocery store is located at negative 12, comma negative 2. What are the coordinates of Jill's home if she lives exactly halfway between the bank and the grocery store? Well, what formula will we use to find the halfway point or the middle point? Correct. We use the midpoint formula, just like we did on the last. So luckily, we've already got our midpoint formula written down right here. So all we have to do is sub in our points. So what I did here is I just put our points down here. This is going to be our 1's points, and this is going to be our 2's. So midpoint equals x1, negative 4, plus x2, negative 12, divided by 2, comma, y1, 13, plus y2 is negative 2. Both of those are going to be divided by 2. And now we're going to just solve out. Negative 4 plus negative 6 is negative 16. 13 plus negative 2 gives us 11. So negative 16 divided by 2 is 8. And 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. So our midpoint for these 2 points is going to be negative 8, comma 5.5. So if we were looking at the map, Jill's house would be at negative 8, comma 5.5. So we did 2 midpoints. So that was number 6. Number 7, it's another midpoint practice problem, but this one, it doesn't give you the coordinates. You have to find the coordinates. And how do we find the coordinates? Well, we do our x first and then our y. So for point S, you're going to count the boxes to get your y value. And we're going this way on the number line, so that's positive. So we're going to count positive over here. And so whatever this is going to be your x value for this point. And then you count up positive numbers to get your y value. So it's going to be x, comma, y. For this point, for point R, we're going negative. We're going negative. So it's going to be however many boxes this way negative. But then we're still going positive up here. So it's going to be a negative number, comma, a positive number. And however many boxes it takes us to get up here to this point R. I'm going to let you all do that midpoint one on your own. And then our last problem that I got to is going to be using the distance formula. So just like with the midpoint formula, you're going to have your formula. This says, what is the distance between the points negative 5, comma 2 and 3, comma 9? So with our midpoint formula, we get a point, another point. So we get a number, comma, a number. With distance, we just get a number. It tells us how far it is in between those 2 points. So hopefully you have written down your distance formula, have it handy. So distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. We have our 2 points. So our 1's are going to be negative 5, comma 2. And then our two points are going to be 3, comma 9. So we just sub in. So x2 minus x1, negative 5, bring that down here. And we're going to put our square, and we're going to do our y's, plus y2, right here, bring that down, 9, minus y1, which is 2 over here. And we're going to close that, and we're going to square it. So let's solve through. 3 minus negative 5 is like adding, so we get 8 squared. 9 minus 2 is 7, and we're going to bring down that square. 8 squared is 64. 7 squared is 49. We still got to bring our square root down. 64 plus 49 is 113. So our answer we got was the square root of 113. But be careful because it says round to the nearest tenth. So I would get out my handy dandy calculating machine and find the square root of 113, and it tells me that it is 10.63. Okay. If you have any questions about where these numbers get plugged in on distance formula or midpoint formula, or how to tell your story on segment addition, please reach out. We can always use a calculator to help us solve through on our math, but if we don't put our numbers in the correct spots, then our math is going to be completely wrong. All right? So you all will work through 9 and 10 together as well. 9 is very similar up here to 7, where you have to actually solve the points first. So remember, we solve x first, comma, y, and our horizontal line here is our x. Our vertical line here is our y. If we start on our coordinate from right here at 0, comma 0, if we move to the right on our coordinates, that is positive x. If we move to the left, that is negative x. If we move up and up, straight up, on the vertical or the y-axis, this is positive y. And if we move down the y-axis, this is negative y. So make sure you get your points and then solve for your 2 points. It's asking what is the halfway point between their 2 houses. What would you use as the halfway point? What would you use to solve the halfway point? Correct, the midpoint formula. And 10 is a distance formula question. It just straight gives you the 2 points, and you solve using the distance formula. If you have any questions, guys, please reach out. Other than that, please go ahead and fill in your entire study guide. Keep your notes that you use to solve, and we'll get ready for our test. Have a great day.